November 29th, the hit Marvel and Netflix series Daredevil was cancelled, shortly after the release of its highly acclaimed third season. Prior to Daredevil being cancelled, both Luke Cage and Iron Fist were also cancelled, and The Defenders was for all intents and purposes cancelled too, by way of not being brought back for a second event. That leaves only The Punisher and Jessica Jones on the Marvel Netflix roster, both of which have new seasons in various stages of production, and you can take it to the bank that those series will be cancelled as well. Because these cancellations, certainly in the case of Daredevil, are not about viewership or lack thereof. They are exclusively about corporate politics. In this editorial, I will explore just who is responsible for cancelling these series and the corporate reasons for doing so. Then I will cover what the future might hold for Daredevil, The Punisher, and the others, before finally rounding out with what this means to us at Midnight's Edge. In the days following the Daredevil cancellation, I've seen many subscribe to the notion that Disney are somehow behind these cancellations, for the supposed reason that they want to move all of these series over to their own upcoming digital platform Disney+. And Disney Plus is indeed a major factor here, but let there be no mistake about it. These cancellations were done by Netflix, not Disney. We can be sure of that for a number of reasons, such as Netflix outright stating that all of these series are theirs to cancel, and that several of the involved key players are also saying that Netflix are behind this. That alone should be enough, but on top of that, there is also the mere act of actively going out and announcing that Daredevil has been cancelled in such a public manner, because as a general thing, cancellations are not announced. They might announce that a long-running series has reached its end point, but that is something else, and done in order to drive up views for the final season. But premature cancellations are hardly ever announced. The various media outlets following genre entertainment may very well do stories on this or that series being cancelled, but usually, those outlets only learned about the cancellation by the series in question not being among those announced to be renewed, because that is what is typically announced, renewals. Whenever a series is cancelled in a public manner such as this, someone wants to make a point. Someone wants to attach the stigma of being cancelled to someone or something else. A similar point was made on October 19th, the day Season 3 of Daredevil was released on Netflix. That was the very same day that Netflix also went out and publicly announced the cancellation of Luke Cage, at the time the second Marvel series to be cancelled by Netflix in as many weeks. That was an extremely hostile act by Netflix, because in so doing, they basically sabotaged the release of Daredevil's third season by ensuring that much of the positive press it otherwise would have gotten was drowned out by another Marvel series being cancelled, and the subsequent worries that Daredevil would be next on the chopping block. Worries that were entirely justified. While Netflix does not release viewership numbers, there are several indications that both Luke Cage and Iron Fist tanked in their respective second seasons, following their lackluster first outings, so Netflix may well have been entirely justified in cancelling those, although announcing their cancellations was just plain bad form. Daredevil, however, is a different matter, so why would Netflix go to the drastic step of cancelling one of the most popular shows on their platform, and flipping off both Disney and Marvel by doing it in such a public manner in the process? The film and TV industry is right now engaged in a format war of sorts. There have been format wars before between physical formats like Betamax versus VHS and Blu-ray versus HD DVD being among the most famous examples. The current one, however, is fought on the digital battleground between streaming services. Everyone wants to launch their own service and put enough exclusive content on it that consumers will consider it a must-have service. Case in point, CBS greenlit Star Trek Discovery for one reason only, namely as a means to push their digital service, CBS All Access. The only reason Star Trek Discovery is on Netflix internationally is because CBS doesn't have the infrastructure to make All Access a worldwide service, and Netflix doesn't consider them real competition for that very reason. But even if they could reach a worldwide audience, which they as of yet can't, CBS simply doesn't have the content to pose any real threat to Netflix, and that is true for most of the other services as well. As a matter of fact, the only thing that All Access and other lesser services achieve by placing exclusive content behind ever more and more paywalls, outside of the once emerging standard that was Netflix, are making illegal downloads and piracy rise again. So yay, really helping out the industry there. Disney, however, is another beast altogether. Their upcoming streaming service, Disney Plus, does pose a threat to Netflix. Not just by producing exclusive content like the various upcoming Star Wars and MCU series, but by pulling any and all Disney catalog titles away from Netflix and making them Disney Plus exclusives as well. On top of that, Disney Plus will likely be available worldwide, and by all indications, cost less than Netflix. On top of that, through the Fox acquisition, Disney became majority shareholders of Hulu, where they, if they so choose, can put more edgy fare than what fits on Disney Plus. And they can even make that service available worldwide too, creating even more competition for Netflix. What that means is that from Netflix's perspective, Disney, once an ally in the creation of content, is rapidly becoming a corporate enemy. To be clear, the Marvel Netflix shows are not included in all the content Disney will pull from Netflix. On the contrary, they are Netflix co-productions and will remain on Netflix as long as was specified in the initial agreement between them. Netflix reminded us of that fact in the announcement of Daredevil's cancellation, where they outright stated, while the series on Netflix has ended, the 3 existing seasons will remain on the service for years to come. Make no mistake about it, that sentence was intended to flip off Disney and Marvel. But then you might wonder, if Netflix were going to keep Daredevil for years anyway, and it was a Netflix exclusive hit show, why on earth would they cancel it? The reason for that is quite simply that while keeping on to Daredevil would have benefited Netflix, it would have benefited their corporate enemies Disney and Disney Plus even more. Not only do Netflix pay Disney a handsome fee for these series, on top of that, every new season of Daredevil, or indeed any Marvel show, would mean additional promotion and goodwill for the Marvel brand. And outside of the Netflix shows, Disney Plus will be the future home of all things Marvel. So for Netflix, it would simply be bad business to promote what could be their most dangerous adversary, and to pay them for the privilege. That means that both The Punisher and Jessica Jones will be cancelled as well. The only question is if they will be announced as cancelled before or shortly after the release of their upcoming final seasons. So, what comes next for these cancelled shows? At the time of making this video, I honestly don't think even Marvel have decided what to do next. Can they carry on where the Netflix shows left off? Perhaps, but not necessarily. That would depend on the precise wording of the agreement between Netflix and Marvel, and just how big ownership Netflix has over these particular incarnations of the characters. As easy as it might seem to continue with Season 4 and just drop it on Hulu instead of on Netflix, red tape might preclude that option from being on the table. It is not outside the realm of possibility that they may have to do, at the very least, a soft reboot. Regardless, Daredevil and the Punisher will certainly be back in some form at some point, and chances are, so will Jessica Jones. Luke Cage and Iron Fist, I'm not too sure about. But for those that will return, such as Daredevil, where, when, and played by who is impossible to call at this point in time. When we do find out, we'll be sure to pass it along, as the Netflix Daredevil series holds some special significance to us at Midnight's Edge. In its initial incarnation, the YouTube channel Midnight's Edge was about the darker characters of comics, those seen in such imprints as DC's Vertigo line and the Marvel Knights, and some other cool ones like Midnight Suns and Marvel Edge. Midnight's Edge came together in breakneck pace and just in time for the release of the first season of Daredevil. And the first video we ever put out was about just that, Netflix Daredevil. The channel has come a long way since then, but that first video is still special, not necessarily for its execution, but for what it would herald. That, combined with the fact that I am a huge fan of the Netflix Daredevil series, means that this cancellation stings extra bad. I sincerely hope Daredevil will resume sooner rather than later, with this cast, in this world, continuing this storyline from what would have been Season 4. Let me know your opinion on all of this, and where and in what form you would like to see Daredevil show up next in the comments.
If you like this video, then please click the subscribe button. And don't forget to click the bell icon to be notified for all the latest uploaded content. Due to recent changes to YouTube's monetization policies, we'd also like to ask you to please consider supporting Midnight's Edge and its sister channel Midnight's Edge After Dark through Patreon. As thanks for their support, patrons will receive early notifications of mini-documentaries, special behind-the-scenes making of the Edge videos, bloopers, outtakes, lost episodes, and more. You can support the channel for as little as $1 a month. Be sure to check back for news and analysis on the corporate politics behind your favorite genre movies, as well as updates and discussion here at Midnight's Edge.